ask?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I'm Brazilian, and I want to thank you so much for this presentation. I want to congratulate you guys. I had no idea you were so little, and you got accomplished so many, so you're a great inspiration. Especially I was very impressed on how you deal with the indigenous community. That was my main point for you. Congratulations on that, because it's all about education and conservation and really raising equality for that people, and that's something that's extremely valuable for this fight. I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what is the leading cause of deforestation, because I particularly know it's animal agriculture, and that is responsible for 91% of the Amazon deforestation. So I'm curious to know how come that issue is not on your front page. And I've seen other big organizations such as Greenpeace or even Rainforest Network that don't have the animal agriculture business as the leading cause of deforestation, because it is. So I'm just wondering how come this issue is not being brought to the table. If we could address that issue, which is 91% of the Amazon deforestation versus, I know oil drilling and the dams are very important, but if we're talking about 91%, that's really big. And if we could change that culture by simply telling people that they could change their eating habits, and we're here and we're like being served meat, I just find it very contradictory that we're not addressing that issue. And I'm not even going to get on the ethical side because I'm interested on the environmental aspect of it. Yeah. So I was just wondering if you could address that issue.
Thank you for the question.
Yep.
We're constantly looking for ways that we bring ourselves in alignment with our values. But I would just say that the Brazilian Amazon has a different set of statistics than the Amazon basin in general. In the Andean Amazon, that statistic is not nowhere near true. And because we focus on indigenous territories, it's definitely not true for indigenous territories, which are the third of the Amazon. But it is significant, and we need to do more. And I totally agree with you. And part of our strategy has been to go after the banks that finance cattle ranching in the Amazon.
Awesome.
So we feel that because we're not really in the market, we're not necessarily receiving the beef here, so it's hard for Americans to affect beef consumption from the Brazilian Amazon. But we can go after the financing of cattle ranching operations in Brazil. We have. Yeah. We don't talk about even everything we do, because you would get overwhelmed. So we are doing a lot. But what you heard tonight is sort of the headline, the major areas of work, our major strategies. But I totally agree with you.
At least feature it a little bit more on the website or something, because people don't know. Yeah, people don't know about it. I didn't know until I watched Cowspiracy, the documentary, and then I was blown away by it. Which, yes, I know you were there. So.
Well, let me just say that it really depends on what part of the Amazon you're talking about. Obviously, animal agriculture is hugely destructive.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the Cargills and the massive, agribusiness and mega, big agribusiness companies, Badian, Bunge, Cargill, Lewis Dreyfus, all of those companies, they're very destructive, not only to the Amazon, but the entire world. They believe that they're feeding the planet. We believe they're destroying the planet and communities and cultures. And, in Brazil in particular, we work on specific emblematic areas, such as the Belo Monte Dam, which is a massive, massive project that communities on the ground have been fighting for over 20 years, right? The Xingu region was the first indigenous reserve created, the biggest and the first indigenous reserve created in Brazil. It's completely surrounded by cattle and soy plantations. Those are massive threats to the Xingu as well, right? And the communities on the Xingu are fighting the dam, and they're fighting all of those other threats as well. Chief Haomin, one of the most emblematic leaders of the Amazon, called to his allies and said, help us get these cattle ranchers off our land. And we started the Xingu Urgent Action Fund. Those are things that you don't see us talking about every day, but we respond to those things, right? Yeah. We respond to those things all the time because they happen. And, even the indigenous leadership in Brazil, they can't fight every single battle all the time, but they're looking at the mega battle Brazil. Who leads the changing of the forest code? The agribusiness lobby. They are calling for the changing of the forest code and giving more rights to agribusiness and cattle ranchers and agribusiness. They're stopping the demarcation of indigenous territories. They're rolling back indigenous rights. So over the last couple of years, Amazon Watch has been standing with our indigenous partners and ensuring that their voices are heard nationally, internationally, and their rights are being respected at their international mobilizations. They had Libre Day. That's what they call their indigenous mobilizations. And that's where we're supporting them and making sure that the Brazilian public, the Brazilian media, and the Brazilian government hear them loud and clear. They want their rights and their territories respected. And rights and territories has everything to do with cattle, soy, agribusiness, legal logging, dams, all of it. So while we might not have the agribusiness campaign and that stop cattle ranching campaign in Brazil or across the Amazon, we are working on that. I can assure you that we are working to support everything we can do to ensure that indigenous people's rights and territories and the rainforests are protected from increased expansion and increased power of the agribusiness lobbies, because they have so much power and control in Brazil. And so we are working on that, and that's just in Brazil. We know that in the Western Amazon, it's not just cattle; it's palm oil. That's increasingly expanding all over the Amazon as well. So it's not just and that's we have people who say, well, we don't eat meat, but we eat this and it has palm oil. Well, that's also destructive, even if it's organic sometimes. So we have to, it is not just a one solution. There's many different. It's a whole system.
We have to look at the whole system. We would have a program on agribusiness if we were big enough, and
You will be. You're so good.
we want to be. We want the resources to be able to tackle the key drivers. Yeah.
It is a mega driver of deforestation, but so are dams. Dams cause major destruction of the Amazon. Not only the rivers that they destroy and the forests and communities that they flood, but they completely destroy the hydrological cycle. That affects us all. That affects all the agriculture and all of the food production that we need for humanity to survive. So it's major issues. So I appreciate that question. It's obviously a big one that we think about all the time.
Any other questions? Feel free to come ask us individually. Maybe.
I have a question about Nina. What